We'll talk about cannabis. This is a stock that has been absolutely falling off of a cliff over the last year. So one of the only reasons that I'm actually still interested in Aurora Cannabis stock in general is simply because most of the cannabis stocks have been down this year, in 2019. So stocks like, of course, Tilray, Hexo, Canopy Growth. Most of the cannabis stocks have been down a ton, so this isn't kind of an isolated event. The entire industry was down. But the good thing that we can see here in the chart is that we can see a bit of accumulation here. So with the accumulation, well, that's basically where the stock has bottomed, and more buyers than sellers have come into the stock and kind of given the stock a bit of a price floor. So that is a good sign for long-term Aurora Cannabis investors like myself. And full disclosure, I do own shares of Aurora Cannabis in my Robinhood account, so I'm very interested in what's going to happen on with this reverse stock split. So if you guys checked out my previous video on Aurora Cannabis, I actually haven't talked about them for a couple of weeks because there really wasn't any more news. I wanted to wait until the reverse stock split occurred until I could give you guys more relevant information. So we are going to see the first day of Aurora Cannabis trading after the 1 for 12 reverse stock split on Monday, the 11th. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what kind of happens with this stock. Now, there are some pros and some cons. So obviously the pros are is that the stock price will be well above the minimum New York Stock Exchange $1 requirement. So that's definitely something that people will be very, very kind of relieved about, the fact that the stock doesn't have to worry about getting delisted, which would be disastrous, because if this stock were to trade on the OTC, this is very bad for a stock like Aurora Cannabis. So after the reverse split on the 11th on Monday, we should see the stock trading at around $8. So not bad. So what basically is going to happen is uh, for every one share you have of Aurora Cannabis, that is simply going to be divided by 12. So for example, if you guys have 12 shares, and you're going to have one share. Now, this is obviously a 1 for 12 split. So why is it really important to think of it like that? Because I know some of you guys out there don't even have 12 shares. So let's say you have 6 shares. Well, if you have 6 shares of Aurora share. So all you have to do is simply take the number of shares that you have, and you want to basically divide that by 12. So me personally, I have around 650 shares of Aurora Cannabis. So after the stock split, I'm going to have 54 shares. So yeah, a 1 for 12 reverse stock split, guys. So in the opposite situation would be a simple stock split, but that's usually when the stock prices run up a lot and they like to kind of make the share price more marketable. This is an opposite example. So where do I think Aurora Cannabis is headed in earnings? Well, earnings is coming up on May 14th, guys, and obviously, I expect things to be pretty positive because the fact that the stock has been bottoming and hasn't been going to 50 cents or lower tells me that a lot of analysts and a lot of institutional investors, because remember, the stock is listed on the New York Stock Exchange, so a lot of people are bullish about Q1 earnings, and that's simply because cannabis companies have reportedly have been seeing a boost in sales due to the whole coronavirus pandemic. So consumers, especially in Canada and the United States, have been stockpiling cannabis, obviously anticipation of closures and things like that. So remember now, the Q1 earnings is from January 1st to March 30th. It doesn't really include the entire lockdown of April. Okay, so yeah, so obviously those bad dates will be for Q3, which will be reported on the 14th, but probably going to see some worse results in the Q4 2020, as the guy includes those dates from April when the closures were. But there are some good things to see. We are priced well above $1. It'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with this stock, whether it kind of plummets down even further, because that's one of the things I saw when I had a disastrous buy in Naked Brands. Don't ask me why, but the stock basically did a reverse split. Then it just continued to go lower. But I think all people need to see is that Aurora Cannabis is going to have a decent earnings release, and I think people have faith in the company. They understand that the cannabis industry is fairly new. Most of these companies were just to experience their first full year of legal sales in Canada 1 year ago. So if this, if the whole cannabis industry in North America were a baby, it would still be an infant. So I don't think it's too early to panic, although it's really not good. If you, some of you guys that bought the Aurora Cannabis at a much higher price, you're down a ton. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can basically buy this stock on Monday in anticipation of a good earning could send the stock higher. So it's going to be around $8 probably on Monday. And we'll kind of see how the market responds. But potentially with a good earnings report, the stock could head towards $10 or more. Or if you wanted to, in your anticipation that earnings would be bad, you could simply wait and try to get it cheaper um, after the earnings release on the 14th. So, it's really kind of a weird situation. When a stock goes through a reverse split, it's really not a good sign. And, we will really find out more information on Thursday on where this company's going. But, like I said, I'm thinking long term with Aurora Cannabis. I think they have some awesome products. I like their 2.0. I like their edibles and things like that. And the consumers in Canada countries like it as well. So actually, for me, I own two cannabis stocks. I own Aurora and Canopy Growth. So I hedge my bet in Aurora Cannabis with Canopy Growth. I know there's going to be some big players in the cannabis industry in the next 10 years. So for me, those are the two strongest companies I like, and I'm going to cover some other companies in the future. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick primer on what might go down in earnings, and like I'll give you guys more updates as things pans out. So if you enjoyed this video, guys, please give me a thumbs up and hit the red subscribe button to receive more future videos on Aurora Cannabis and other cannabis stocks. Full disclosure, I do own shares of Aurora Cannabis, so I will be covering this stock well into the future, guys, and I don't plan on selling anytime soon. So I'm really long-term bullish on this stock. I think they have some of the best products out there and the lowest cash cost per gram. So guys, that's it for now. Until next time, take care.